Well, now, a good day for the freedom to protest. The reaction that from environmental activists after Heathrow's operator BAA won a court bid for an injunction against a week-long environmental demonstration planned next week. But whilst the airport authority professed victory, so too did the protesters, who claimed the teeth had been drawn on an initially draconian submission which could have seen members of the RSPB and the National Trust banned from the airport. Here's Nick Martin.
What happened today in the court?
The environmental campaigners said they were up against the mother of all injunctions. On the steps of the High Court today, they said Heathrow operator BAA suffered the mother of all defeats. At the same time, though, BAA were claiming victory over the protesters.
What we're seeking to do here and what we've achieved is to prevent people from acting in a way that would do harm or damage to the airport or to those using it. That's all we've ever sought to do. We don't have an issue with people expressing their democratic rights to have an opinion on the subject of climate change in aviation.
They've taken us to the High Court and lost spectacularly. They've lost spectacularly. The Camp for Climate Action is going ahead, and hundreds of thousands of people now know about the impact of flying on climate change in a way that they didn't last week.
Campaigners plan to set up camp near to Heathrow next week to protest at the airport's expansion. But when BAA found out, they headed straight for the court. The company sought a far-reaching injunction under the 1997 Harassment Act. 4 activists and 4 organisations were named. One, Airport Watch, is an umbrella organisation for a number of groups including the RSPB and the National Trust. Protesters said that would cover over 5 million people. BAA sought to prevent protests anywhere on or within 100 metres of the airport, apart from 3 designated sites. It also includes sections of the Piccadilly Underground line, as well as the Heathrow Express and parts of the M25 and M4 motorways. But the judge said the use of the Harassment Act wasn't justified, and that there was no evidence the majority of groups were intent on direct action. Instead, she granted an injunction against just one group, Plain Stupid, banning it from Heathrow Airport for the month of August.
There is a legal injunction against Plain Stupid, but it's not under any criminal law. It's not under the Protection from Harassment Act. What BAA's lawyer was trying to do was trying to use a law that was designed to stop women from being stalked. He was trying to use that against a movement that's known for its Gandhian principles.
But this isn't the first injunction against protesting. In May 2006, Oxford University was granted an injunction by the High Court against a campaign led by animal rights activists. And campaigners who wanted to stop Radley Lakes in Oxfordshire being used as a dump for fuel ash from a nearby power station were also served with an injunction. BAA believes passengers inside the terminals shouldn't be affected by next week's protests now that an injunction is in place.
August is one of the busiest times for Heathrow. Next week it will cater for about 1.5 million passengers, many of them families all jetting away on holiday. This injunction today isn't exactly what BAA had in mind. It's a much slimmed down version. And because of the decision today, the costs are massive.
The judge ordered BAA to pay those organisations removed from the injunction. BAA tonight insist that their priority all along was the safety of passengers. Nick Martin, Channel 4 News, Heathrow.
Well, we did, of course, ask BAA to come on the programme to discuss this, but we were told no one was available. So we're joined now by one of the protesters named in the injunction, Leo Murray from the action group Plain Stupid. Mr Murray, going up and disrupting Heathrow at this time of year is plain stupid, isn't it?
Let's be honest, this was never about causing disruption to passengers. And I think that anyone that's actually travelled from Heathrow in the last few months would know that BAA does not place avoiding inconvenience to passengers a top priority.
So what was it about?
This was about silencing critics of their plans for a third runway. Now, what they want to do, they don't want to protect passengers from disruption or protect the rest of us from some sort of security scare. They're simply trying to protect their plans for the future growth of their business, plans which the science shows cannot be reconciled with the need to tackle dangerous climate change. That's
a wider debate, perhaps for another evening, but for some reason the judge doesn't like your lot, Plain Stupid. He likes the RSPB, he likes the campaign for protecting rural England, likes all those people. He smelt trouble with you lot.
Well, let's be clear, the judge was perfectly reasonable in the judgment which they gave. The original injunction which BAA saw was the most far-reaching injunction in British legal history. It would have restricted the freedoms of millions of people from taking lawful protests.
Yeah, but I didn't ask you that. I asked why doesn't he like you, but he likes the others.
Well,
what's the difference? What I'm getting at is you
yes.
people are going down there to disrupt things, weren't you?
Well, our campaign, Plain Stupid's campaign, is focused on direct action. Nobody was taking direct action on the aviation problem. So
you were going to take some direct action?
Well, we now have an injunction against us, you know, myself, Joss, and the rest of the members of Plain
So the
Stupid.
judge got it right,
that will
didn't
keep
he?
us away from there. Well, I think that calling this a victory for BAA is incredibly
I'm
disingenuous.
calling it a victory for the judge. He got it right. He sorted the wheat from the chaff. You're the troublemakers. You can't go. The others can.
The principal effect of this injunction has not been to protect the airport from some sort of disruption by members of Plain Stupid. The principal effect of this injunction has been to massively publicise the links between aviation and climate change. And that's mainly what they've managed to achieve in this last week. So I'm calling it a huge own goal.
Right, these injunctions, the long string of them against all sorts of protests,
Yes.
most of them got by a law firm a few yards away from where we happen to be speaking. Are the courts seeing through these things, do you think?
Well, in this instance, it was completely unjustified to try to seek an injunction against us. Although we may have taken unlawful protest in the past, and no one's disputing that, we certainly haven't taken part in anything that could be construed as harassment. And this guy, Timothy Lawson-Cruttenden, this is what he makes a living out of doing, is misusing a law which was drafted to protect women from stalkers to persecute activists that are causing problems for multinational corporations like BAA.
It's for the courts to decide whether the lawyer is or not misusing it, and he's not
Well,
here to
I
defend
think-
himself, so we'd better leave that one hanging.
No, but in this case, the judge
but-
did not find that
Okay.
it was appropriate to.
We
to
are out
injunct
of
us.
time, and I should say I changed the sex of the judge a minute ago. She was, of course, and still is, a woman. My apologies to her.